Warning. This episode contains topics such as depression, anxiety, suicide, and drug addiction. If you or your loved one needs help, please call the Suicide and Crisis Helpline at 988. Again, please call the Suicide Helpline at 988. You are not alone, and we love you. Hi, friend.
Hi, friend.
Welcome back to the Friend Podcast. I'm your co-host, Sarah.
I'm your co-host, Sabrina.
Welcome to our first real try at a video element.
Yay.
We tried last week.
Yeah.
And it wasn't unsuccessful.
No.
But she has, this is her phone, actually. If you're watching with video.
Yeah.
My phone, I have a bigger phone, like storage-wise, and the camera's better. So we use my phone to record now. And last time we were using two phones to record.
Yeah, which we realize is stupid, and we don't even need to do that.
But we've just been investing left and right in equipment. We've got guests coming on next week. We've got new tripods, all that.
Yes.
So we're moving up. We invested first in
audio,
which I feel like paid off because
Definitely.
no one wants to listen to a podcast that has bad audio.
No.
And then
Now we're exploring video and seeing how that works.
So what's new in life? What's fun and different and funky fresh?
Girl, every time you ask this, I'm like, I don't know. I don't do anything. I do the same, like, 3 things. I don't have anything new.
Nothing
Sorry.
new. We were supposed to get this big snowstorm on Friday night. I was so excited, and then it was a bust. So that's what's new in my life. I'm feeling pretty upset about that.
The weather.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Me putting in my passcode 7 times, trying to understand why it wasn't going through. My
phone.
So, do you want to do hyperfixation?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Well, my hyperfixation right now is Elmo talk. You know exactly what I mean.
The one where he's driving.
Yeah.
He's like, fuck you.
Well, there's this also
Get away
this
from me.
There's also this TikTok account called Faithy, I think, and it's this girl that like acts out as Elmo, and she does it so perfectly. Y'all should all look her up. She's really cool. She just like does all the Elmo like comedic bits, like the Rocco.
Oh yeah.
But she does like intense facial, like.
Okay.
She's like,
everyone check her out. I think you sent me one.
Yeah, she's funny. And she's everywhere on my For You page now.
My hyperfixation is like going back to the same one. Is that allowed?
Yeah.
I know a couple, like one of our first episodes I talked about my obsession with sourdough bread. Oh and I feel like it's held very...
Yeah. Gross. Ooh, someone's dying upstairs.
It's held very strong, but I've gotten only better with time. You should try my loaf from this week. It's like insane.
Is it sourdough still, or is it?
But it's just I've been learning how to make it fluffier and like what it needs to be to thrive. So
guys, her bread is so good.
It's
addicting.
We had family friends over this weekend for the long weekend, and it was like a birthday party, and I got everyone else a gift, but I couldn't figure out what to get like these like my mom, like my parents' friends, because I don't know, it's hard.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're my second parents.
Yeah, definitely.
But so I gave them a loaf of sourdough bread, and I was like, I assumed that they would bring it, home and like eat it. And we ate the whole loaf, like,
oh my God,
the same day. The whole loaf was gone. They were just ripping it like
full
fiends.
Loaf?
Yeah.
I love that.
But honestly,
that's how it's supposed to be eaten. It's so good.
We were talking about the fact that like you would never buy a store-bought loaf of bread and eat it like that.
No.
But then all of a sudden you're like
chips.
Yeah. So sourdough bread and just like the general art of it. It's like a real... It's a scientific thing.
Last time that you said it was like your hyperfixation, you were just getting into it, I feel like.
Yeah.
And now you're in it.
Yeah. Now I'm much more interested in like the science behind why it needs like a certain amount of time to rise and like stuff like that. Because you have to first start by making it and then you can tweak.
Yes. Yeah. And you learn. Your first one was like...
Very dense.
Very dense and not as sour, but now it's like...
It definitely had good flavor still, but now it's like a fluffy bread. And now I'm venturing into sourdough like sandwich loaves.
Ooh.
So.
Love that.
Exciting.
Can't wait to have like 5 pieces later today.
Yeah, literally. Also, I feel like because it's so fluffy, it doesn't feel like a hard, like, filling dense bread.
Yeah.
Feels
that's true.
Yeah.
So good.
I feel like I don't have like a hot take right now.
I have one hot take because I experienced it today.
Well, I have a hot take, but it doesn't really go with...
Oh, I don't either.
Okay.
So I took the bus to get to somewhere.
Oh, is this the driver?
Yeah, okay. Public transportation should be either on time or late. Never early. Like, what are you doing if it says the bus will get there at 10 and then it gets there at 10:52? Or no, 9:52. That's ridiculous. What am I supposed to do? Wait 25 minutes?
One thing about Sabrina is she's an old man with like the get off my lawn. Like, Sabrina believes the world was built to serve her specific type of being. Not you.
Okay.
But like, she'll be like, isn't it just ridiculous that like people don't like the bus thing? Yeah. I get it. But like, she gets passionate about it.
Yeah, because I depend on it.
Right. Or like...
And like, you depend on it. You were waiting for me. We were meeting each other somewhere.
I feel like that is fair. Especially, I feel like I grew up in New York City. Mm-hmm. And the public transportation, if it was fast, that meant they were all coming faster.
Yeah.
But if it's such a shitty metro region, like
yes,
DC, it doesn't mean the other bus is coming sooner. No. It means that it's a bigger gap in between buses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like, it's not that hard to just not come early.
The MTA in New York City, huge shout out, big fan. What is it here? MDOT? Yeah, Maryland Department of Transportation. Yeah. Bye. Girl, bye.
Yeah, get better.
My hot take is kind of like a very niche hot take.
Okay.
I'm just like adding my mom so bad in this
Might
hot
as well
take.
Just say it.
But my hot take is that tchotchkes are dumb. And I said what I said.
You don't like your hedgehog?
My mom decided to buy me these little mini figure hedgehogs.
Yeah.
That are like in different positions holding like different earth things like flowers and pumpkins. She bought me 2 of them already. And then she forgot that I already had this one. She bought me a 3rd one. My mom loves tchotchkes. I have tchotchkes. But I feel like I can point to a tchotchke and say like,
I got that in Michigan.
Yeah, like my bookshelf in my living room has tchotchkes. It has a custom Coke bottle that Alex bought me, which I feel like...
Yeah.
And then the little Lego flowers, but Bethany bought that for me.
Yeah.
That was like our first friendship thing that she got me. And, a little crochet bunny.
Yeah,
but
just like something that you find...
It's not just a random thing that like doesn't have a meaning.
Yeah.
So that's my hot take.
Okay, fair enough.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So today we're talking about a little bit more of like a heavy topic. I guess do we need like a trigger warning?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, so we're talking about mental health today. Mm-hmm. And this is also not to discount. We haven't been through as hard of hardships as some.
That's true.
But we just wanted to be open and honest and talk about our journeys with our mental health, things that we still struggle with now, and our areas of depression.
Yeah.
And like touch on, I don't know, not normalize it, but just talk about it.
Yeah, just talk about our experience.
Yeah. So to start out, I am diagnosed ADHD and anxiety, but I am not medicated. And that was a choice that I made for myself because I was diagnosed with both of those things very late in life. And partly...
I don't think it puts up that well.
My fiance's best friends are here. And this is also a PSA as an educator and a parent. Oh, not me parent. As a nanny and an educator, I went to a Montessori-based school that did very, very little traditional schooling. And I think that that's why I was never diagnosed with ADHD. Because there was never an opportunity to see it.
Yeah.
And that is why I never got an IEP for it. And I did need accommodations. Like, I probably did need extended time and stuff. And then when I got to middle and high school, which was the only experience I had with a real traditional education, I was told that I had testing anxiety and that's why, and all this stuff. And it was really like, I just couldn't, my attention is just not
there
at all. And I don't blame anybody for that. I think, and also, you know, there's different ways to test somebody for that. And both of mine are very manageable. Like it's not debilitating in any part of my life, really. It's annoying sometimes, but it's not like debilitating for me. So I am diagnosed with both of those things, and I chose not to medicate because, one, I felt like I had made it really far in life, and two, both of our moms are diagnosed with your anxiety too, right?
Yeah,
with anxiety, and my mom's on Zoloft, and your mom is on something different.
I forget what it's called.
But both of them have experienced this like kind of like dissociative, like general just like disinterest and like emotions sort of
from the medication.
Medication, and I don't want that. I'd rather be overly emotional and a little bit anxious sometimes than not care about anything.
I mean, I don't know if it's true for your mom, but for my mom, she had panic attacks, like to the level of like, you know, just generally not being very healthy. Like she mentally could not handle some of the emotions that she, you know, that anxiety brought. And so I don't know if you feel that way. I don't think so.
I don't feel that way. My anxiety is very manageable, and I do have a lot. I've also been in talk therapy for 14 years.
Wow.
And like basically nonstop. Yeah, that's a relationship. My therapist actually just found out that I have a podcast, and she was like, I love that outlet for you. So shout out if you're in the... Actually, she does telehealth. So shout out Elm Therapy and Wellness. Love their work. Recommend. And so I feel like I've had a lot of opportunity to work through it. My mom experiences like insomnia. Her biggest anxiety like symptom is like extreme insomnia and like the inability to just shut her brain off, and the hyperfixation on like random stuff.
That's my mom too.
Yeah, and so it has been helping her, but I do think it scared her too to like feel like she might have like lose control of like who her personality was.
Yeah.
So I personally decided not to medicate, and that's always something you can go back and decide to do later. But for right now, I'm like fine with that. I think like ADHD is like what makes me really cool because like everybody loves having a conversation with me.
That's right. It's not like talking to a goldfish at all.
And it's funny because I'm very observant.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Yeah, I notice and remember random stuff, but like tell me something that's happening and like ask me something that you told me 10 seconds ago and I can't do it.
You know why? It's because instead of like paying attention to our conversation, you're looking at my ring and like my hair.
Yeah.
And that's how you notice.
Or I'm
like your hair looks different.
When we're in a conversation in public, I'm listening to someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah. But today we wanted to talk about more like not normalizing, because I think it is pretty normalized now, but
which is great.
Yeah, depression and not being okay all the time, and the idea that life doesn't have to be really hard to be sad.
True.
I think like as somebody who is friends with a lot of older people because of my nanny career and stuff like that, I'm like, oh, my life's not as important as theirs because they have 2 kids and whatever. Like they're a single mother, and like
what do I have to stress about?
I don't have anything compared to that, and it doesn't have to be that in order to be sad or hard or anything like that. And I feel like the episodes that are the best are the ones that were like more emotionally vulnerable. Yeah, and of course, like we want to have fun on the podcast. We want to whatever, but
this is an important topic for us, I feel like, because we talk about it often.
Yeah,
you and me, and like we always complain about it and we talk about it with each other, so like why not bring it up and like really go into detail about what we go through.
So I think we should be like neither of us have had like suicidal thoughts,
no,
or anything like super chronic, but like if that is you, like help is there, and we'll like have the hotline number and stuff, I feel like.
Yes.
But this is just like
our silly little
and also like let us like expose ourselves. Like we are not always happy. Life's not always been easy. I think especially with the age of social media, it does look like life's always happy.
Yeah.
especially for someone like me who posts like all the time.
I think it also is the norm for people, even though we are talking about depression and stuff more nowadays, we also are trying to hide these things because everything is out there. You know, our lives are out there. So like, you can either be very open but also lie, or you can be both at the same time, because, you know, it is whatever you want to do on the internet.
Yeah. So we're kind of touching more on like the deeper stuff. I just wanted to say that I also am diagnosed with those things, so that it's like,
I am not diagnosed with anything, but
I also have minor markers for OCD. If you've been to my house, you know.
Yeah.
But
you mean cleaning something at
that TikTok of
midnight isn't normal?
I don't have the compulsive, like the obsessive, like I need to tap something multiple times. Like that's a true OCD thing, but like generally I have markers. I don't have diagnosed, like I have diagnosed markers, but I didn't like, everything's a spectrum. Autism, Asperger's, anything's a spectrum. So I'm on the spectrum of OCD, but not like chronic.
Yeah. And that's like definite. Yeah. You've been, oh, interesting. I didn't know.
Like 5 years ago, I asked my therapist if I could be referred to a psychiatrist just to like see. Because I think without a doctor, you can totally see that people have these issues.
Yeah.
And so you don't really need to go to a doctor to have anxiety. Like, you have anxiety. Everyone has anxiety. But it was just interesting because I don't think it lets me off the hook in anything. I just think it'd be nice, like, I know people have longer attention spans.
Yeah.
So I want to know.
Yeah. It's also good to know, so, like, if you want to be medicated, if you want to work on something specific, you can, because you know what you have.
So a psychiatrist and a therapist are different. A psychiatrist can prescribe you medication, and a therapist cannot. So, well, there's many different. My cousin Lucy's like listening to this right now, like, you're dumb. But like roughly, you cannot be a talk therapist cannot diagnose you. They can recommend that you go to a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I feel like you're more. I think the more vulnerable you are, the more you find people that have the same thing.
Yes, definitely.
I've learned that a lot in the past year with like family stuff. So we're just here to be like big sister vibes.
Yeah.
Like,
so I am a very optimistic person. Optimistic. Wow. I can't speak today. I'm a very optimistic person. And for the longest time, I didn't think like I would be hit with depression. But the first time I like had an inkling for it, like if I had that sort of feeling a little bit, it wasn't too crazy, was sophomore year of high school. And it came on so randomly. Like, I'm not quite sure what even caused it. But it was like the summer between...
Oh my God, I remember this.
Sophomore year and junior year. I was just so incredibly sad. I couldn't sleep. I just had these, like, really annoying, like, sad thoughts all the time. And it wasn't even, like, nothing was happening in my life that caused it. It was really so much like that Big Mouth episode. I don't know if you guys have seen, but Big Mouth has like this personification of depression. It's just like this big fat cat that like hugs you. That's how it felt, and it was random. So that was my first like experience with depression, and I don't think it was that bad because it really only lasted like a couple of weeks that I was really down in the dumps.
Depression also is not chronic depression runs in my dad's side of the family, and that's like kind of like a constant, like, I love how we're talking about mental health and they're up there geeking. Surround yourself with friends, guys. That's characterized by extreme sadness and like a kind of like constant hum of sadness all the time. That's different than situational depression, I think.
Yes.
And ours is very situational.
Yeah. Like mine definitely is always situational. I think prior to like meeting you and your family, I don't think I've ever met anybody that's been open about depression and feeling that way. And that was the first time I actually like heard about it or experienced it. Like,
and you would never look at my family and think any of them are sad?
No, absolutely not. Like, I had never experienced it or talked to somebody about that feeling before. I knew it existed because it was on, out in the world, and I heard about it from school and whatnot, but I didn't have any personal connection with it. And then that happened, and I was it was scary. Like, I was very confused why I was so sad. Because I'm an optimist, I tried everything to get myself out of it.
It's also, like, not always, like, it's random, and, like, especially if you're happy a lot.
Yeah.
Or you're, like, pretty, like,
yeah.
most of the time you're like, what, why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally, and I remember, like, I feel like I stopped talking to you for a little bit. Like, there were...
Was that during that month period?
I think it was. Or, like, that's when it started for me, I think. I was just, like, shut down.
It's like a funk.
Yeah, it was a weird funk. I was shut down. Didn't want to talk to anybody. I remember I locked myself in my room every day and, like, watched Netflix and listened to 21 Pilots. And, like, that was my entire, like, day for, like, 2 weeks or so. So, yeah, I was a teenager. I was, like, what, 15? Something like that. No reason for it. That was my first experience.
I feel like now with your depression is more like...
Now it's more situational.
Yeah, and it's basically like, oop, like it's coming. Yeah. And then you can kind of know it's going to end after this specific amount of time, or this thing is over.
Yeah.
For you.
Yeah, now it comes every once in a while, and I can usually tell. I get, like... I always am the same way. I always kind of, like, shut down a little more, and I become numb to emotions a little. Like, obviously I'm very sad internally, but outwardly, like, I don't care. Like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't care. Like, my brother is bothering me. Usually I yell at him. Now I'm just like, bye. Like, leave me alone. Yeah. You know? Same thing with, like, with friends and with family. I just, like, nothing. I am a very, at least with my family, I get very frustrated and I'm very vocal. And so when that doesn't happen, then you know I'm in a funk. For sure.
I feel like with you also, both of us, never really, when we're depressed, like, we're not like, hey, like, I'm depressed. It's just like, we're depressed and, like, we're like, and then it's like, whatever. But we don't say, like, hey, friend, like, I'm really depressed right now. But you can tell, kind of.
My thing, you can tell. Yeah. My thing is always like, I've been depressed for, like, like this past week. And you're like, what the heck?
But it's not, again, like, depression isn't this... Situational depression is not, I am sad all the time, I cannot get a handle on it. It's like, oh, I'm sitting here quiet and, well, like, it's not all the time.
One thing I always like to say, and I don't know if it's healthy or not, I don't go to therapy. I really want to, eventually.
Therapy's expensive, guys.
It is. So, when I got a rolling paycheck, I'll go. I promise.
Get PSA to get health insurance that covers mental health services. It's becoming much more common now, but even the insurance I was on for my whole life before my dad retired did not cover mental health services. Yeah. So it's check, because some of it, mine you pay out of pocket, and then it's out of your deductible, and then when you reach your deductible, they start paying for it. Yeah. So it's not, and it's expensive. Therapy is like $200+ a session for most therapists. Yes. Out of pocket. So it's not cheap, and it is a privilege. But there are services now like BetterHelp online that are making it a lot easier to access it. And BetterHelp is a lot cheaper. Yeah. So if it's something you're interested in.
I actually looked into BetterHelp a little more. This is not a sponsorship.
We wish.
We wish.
Sponsor us.
But I looked it up, and like they have student discounts. They have discounts for people that are unemployed, people that, you know, don't have much money. So it is very helpful if you really just don't have any other way.
You can also pay up front, I think, per session. Like if you can pay for 4 sessions and then stop. Yeah. So options.
Yes. Sometimes. Yeah. So originally it just came out of nowhere, and then I learned a little more about myself, and I learned that this happens when I have a lot of downtime to think, I tend to overthink my life, and like I fall into these pits of existential crises, dread, regret, all these things about my life. And so whenever I allow myself to really sit with those thoughts is when I get very depressed again. So I try my best to stay away from that, but sometimes it creeps in, you know. I'll be next to you and you're driving somewhere, and I see something that reminds me, like I see Social Security or something, and I get depressed because I don't have one, and I'm like, oh shoot, like what is my life? So, you know, it happens like you said, it's situational. It just comes sometimes, but I'm learning to like deal with it by ignoring it a little better.
Yeah, I think noticing that you have the issue of having depression, and then saying like, how am I gonna get myself out of this funk? Yeah, I think that the part about clinical depression is I I don't think he would care. My dad has clinical depression, and it's just like, I cannot pull myself out of this. Like, I don't want to shower. I don't want to eat. I don't want to sleep. I don't want to. My dad has depressive episodes where he legitimately sleeps for like 3 days straight. Doesn't shower, doesn't really eat, or like he sleeps all day and then he's up all night. And that's like a funk you cannot pull yourself out of. And that's like a chemical brain, like that's a chemical imbalance in your brain. And you do get medicated for that. And my dad has not been the best at getting medicated for it, or he does and then he gets off of it. But that level, if you're experiencing that level of depression, like, go see somebody.
Yeah.
But everybody gets depressed sometimes, and life's not always fun and happy. And
it's okay.
It's natural.
Honestly, every time it happens with me, I just learn a little more about it. And
yeah.
At least with I'm just gonna say, like, my depression is not that intense. So, like, I am able to, like, learn from it. Other people, perhaps like your dad, probably struggle to.
Not everybody's clinical depression obviously manifests in the same way. But it's also like a lot of clinically depressed people have this like feeling like nobody would care, or like nobody cares about them, or they're like not valuable to the world and whatever. And my dad's clinical depression, he is not suicidal, but that is a lot of times where it stems from.
Yeah.
And so it is hard as his daughter, especially, to watch like someone who to you is like a hero in your life, thinking that they're so like unimportant. And it manifests in a lot of ways. Like, my dad has a lot of physical health problems that probably could have been dealt with like a long time ago, but he didn't feel like he was worthy. And like, it is sad because nobody else thinks that about him.
Yeah.
But it is like a very negative headspace, and I think I'm very grateful that I don't have that.
Yeah.
Because I think life's very sad and hard like that.
Yeah.
And it also is almost never just clinical depression. It comes with like substance abuse and other things. So, but I think everybody also should look into their genetics, because clinical depression, addiction, anxiety, a lot of that people would say is random.
Yes.
But if your parents have it, you're like much more likely to end up having it.
Yeah.
As an adopted person, I could drop dead tomorrow. But if you have the gift of a medical history,
yeah,
it's very common that, oh, grandpa had it. Like, and you know, that happened. Like, my dad had it. I don't really
Didn't
know.
your grandma on your mom's side?
Yeah, my grandmother on my mom's side had it, and now, like, I mean, addiction runs in both sides of my families, and that's one person in every generation in my family has an addiction issue. So, on both sides. So it's actually not my mom's side yet, but you know, it does run in the family, and
it's important to note.
The more open you are, though, with that, the more you're opening yourself up to getting help. Like, I didn't know that anybody in my family had addiction except for my dad. Yeah. And then, you know, when you're 13, you like unlock the keys of the kingdom, and everyone's like, did you know so-and-so killed blah, blah, blah? And you're like, whoa. I didn't even know my dad had addictive tendencies when I was a kid, until they were like, did you know when your dad was blah, blah, blah? I was like,
they have a good
criminal, bombastic side. Yeah,
they have a good tribe. I want to mention, I just realized, my dad's dad was suicidal. He actually did commit suicide. And that happened when my dad was like very young. He was like 9 years old or something. And like, that was something I only found out like a few years ago.
I remember that.
Yeah. So like, these things are usually hidden. Not obviously on purpose.
I think if there's truly anything you take from this episode, is like, my dad's addiction came to a head last year, and like, obviously I'm not gonna delve, but I felt so alone and embarrassed, because I was like, nobody understands me or him, and like, I don't want anybody to think. It changes a lot of people's perspectives of people, sometimes completely unnecessarily. Like, I saw this girl on TikTok, and she was like, spend a night in my life with me as a single mom of 4. And she openly like blew into a breathalyzer to turn her car on. And the comments just railed her and was like, how are you a mother if you're like, and what, like, why?
What about a breathalyzer means she can't be a mother?
I always, and a breathalyzer means she got in trouble and she's getting help for it.
Yeah.
A breathalyzer means that person has to be sober to turn their car on.
Yeah.
And so that's safer.
Yeah.
And so I like that normalization because it is so normal. And nobody who's a real friend or person in your life will change their opinion about that person if it's their true friend, you know?
Yeah.
And like, did my dad mess up? Yeah. But nobody who I've like talked to has then like, oh, that means every interaction I've had with him for the past blah, blah, blah years of my life was fake.
No, of course not.
I've unlocked an ick. It's whatever the fuck that was.
A hyena laugh. Yeah.
So the stigma around mental health is changing in general.
Yeah.
And conversations like this and our body positivity episode, like those are that's stuff that like was so passe to talk about. And now everyone's talking about it.
Yeah.
So
As they should.
Yeah.
I want to also add on to what you said about like getting help. If they're getting help, like that's what you want. Wow, I just realized my family has a lot more problems than I thought.
I saw this this meme yesterday that's like, growing up is realizing half your family has mental health issues. Yeah. And I sent it to all my cousins and I was like, only half?
Only half?
How about 3/4?
All of them.
How about almost everybody who's genetically related?
Yeah. I think there isn't a single
singular.
I don't think there's a single person, human being out there that doesn't suffer from some sort of mental illness, as opposed to your dad, who is getting help and like, you know, he's always struggled with this and he is very like open about it and knows what is happening like in his brain, you know, what he has. I think there is a lot of stigma in foreign families, people about depression, anxiety, and all that.
Do you remember that TikTok that I sent you? It's like your Hispanic dad, whatever, and it's like, you have depression? Go back to Mexico. We didn't have depression there.
Yeah.
It's
like, okay, King. My grandpa was also, he was an addict, and he never got better. He never wanted to, or at least from the outside, he never told us like his.
Well, he said that he was going to die with a beer in his hand. Yeah,
he said that, and then he did. And I don't know. I mean, I didn't know my grandpa very well, but I know that like he was very closed off because of that addiction, and like that is just how addiction was for him. Like he didn't talk about it with anybody. It was just a problem, and you know, he died that way. But like I just see how important now, like with my mom and my dad, they do talk about these things. I think because they had hard situations, like my dad with his dad, my mom with his dad, that it's important to talk, like if you have kids, like talk to them about these things.
I think also kids are a lot more observant than you think they are. And the thing is I don't look back at my childhood and think, oh, that was the moment I knew, because it was really truly COVID that showed the true colors of my dad's issues. And it's a hard thing to accept, talk about, and not be angry over. And I think if there's anything that about addiction specifically, it's a family disease, and it affects everybody. You are not just the person abusing these substances is not the person who's suffering, the only one who's suffering. It's not like cancer or something like that's just that person's body. It's like everybody in your life is suffering, and it rips apart trust, everything, respect, everything. And you know, the more open you are with your kid about you being a human, the more they respect you. Yeah. And like we've experienced this a lot growing up, this like switch of, it happens around 20, I feel like. You are living in a house with other adults. That's not your mom or your dad. That's literally just like,
they're just another...
Andrea and Antonio, Paul and Wendy. Like that's like, and you would probably never be friends with these people if they were on the street.
Yeah.
I would not be friends with my parents if I was on the street. Maybe my mom. Actually, yes, with my mom. But maybe not, because we wouldn't be in the same circles.
No.
But your parents are people, and there's shit that went down. And also, this is less true with your family because you don't live near them. But my dad has childhood trauma from stuff that happened to him that I used to be like, well, that's not what, that grandma's not like that, or like grandpa's not like that anymore. And he was like, yeah, well, you weren't around, you know, you didn't know. And it's totally true.
Yeah. Like the way you experience your grandma is different from how your dad.
That's the whole point of being a grandparent, to redo it.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, I didn't know half the mental health struggles that my cousins have. I don't have any siblings, but my cousins and I are like very close. All 7 of us are like, is there 7 of us or 8 of us?
Girl,
there's 7 of us, right? No, there's 8 of us. I'm number 8. But I used to see them as like, they were all my idols. And now I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, because they're adults, you're adult.
Yeah.
You're
so
an adult, you're like,
as you grow up, everybody becomes an adult. And it's sometimes a little scary.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But your parents aren't perfect. And I would encourage you to have these open conversations with them.
Definitely.
Because they are willing to have them most of the time.
Yeah.
It might take a while, especially I see my fiance Alex like totally struggling with, his parents are Vietnamese and their perception of Western culture is not very open.
Yeah.
So they don't believe they did anything wrong. And they did. I'm not saying your parents going to be like, oh my God, I've messed up. Like, I'm so sorry. They're not going to do that.
Not always. Yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like even your dad, when you have these conversations with him, he'll come back to you if you had an argument and be like, you know what?
Yes. Yeah, I feel very grateful that my parents are very foreign in so many different ways. Like they have that more closed off mentality, but in some senses. But then I think the more they grow up, the older they get, and the more they see the world change, they also like change a little bit with it. And that's my favorite. You know that TikTok that says like, your mom is learning too. Like this is her.
This is her first time being a mom or something?
No, this is her first time. Like this is. I forget. It's like this is her first time living too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like we're all just learning. It's not, your parents are not going to be perfect. If they're willing to have that conversation, they will. Maybe if you're like very young, they might not. Like it depends like where you are in life. But like with my mom and my dad, I only ever learned these like deep things about them recently, like in my 20s. It didn't happen at all before. So
this just turned into a therapy session about your parents.
Should I have them on? I'll translate the whole time. I feel like your experience or what your openness with your parents have always been apparent though, right?
Yeah, so I'm not saying, I feel like we are like the Joneses or the Smiths.
Yeah.
Like I grew up in a traditional upper middle class white family. Obviously I am Asian, but I was adopted at 9 months old, so 100% like I'm American. And my parents, my mom, I always had paternal and maternal open love, like mental, you're crying, that's fine. Like I had very emotionally supportive parents my whole life. And I grew up very happy.
Yeah.
Like I mean, we didn't have to worry about any, like,
yeah.
We had plenty of money. We went on vacations. Like nothing was ever awry, really. Like life was good. And I had never experienced like high school, nothing. I had everything I needed.
Yeah.
And I had 2 loving parents that in my head are like the best. And so like,
yeah,
even with their issues, like they were the best. So, you know, my dad is like the best at big, open, hard conversations.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. And like with anybody, we always joke, my dad lives outside. Like he lives on my parents' porch. Yeah. And obviously he has a bed. He has a bed inside. But he's always like, come out. And you always like sit there. It's like 30 degrees and he turns his little heater because he has a heater outside and he turns it on to you. And he's just like, how are you doing?
Yeah.
And like he really rips into you. He really does. And he does it with everybody, like close people. Like he'll do it with Sabrina, with my fiance, close friends he does it with. And he genuinely cares and wants to know. Like, and I think he did that for a lot of my friends who didn't have it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I remember, like, I don't know about you, but like Alex was always like, I never met, like, I didn't realize like that a parent could like talk to about and care like that.
Yeah.
So
it was always your parents that like made me want to go talk to my mom and my dad about some of these things.
And my mom is not, like, my mom is an onion. We always call her.
Yeah.
Like, I'm uncovering things about that woman all the time. And she had a lot more trauma in her life, especially her adult life, than my dad. Well, yeah, I think objectively. So with her, she always wanted to be open with me and cared about my emotions, but she would never talk about her own. And I don't know. I think I probably know less than half of like the hard shit that she went through.
Yeah.
And I might never know that stuff. And it used to really bother me, and it still does. Like, I feel myself like tearing up a little, but I don't think she owes it to me.
No.
And like, I know enough about her now. I think a lot of having me as a child, like when she was so old, my mom adopted me when she was 49, was this like, I'm starting over. And like, this is how my story ends. Like,
Yes.
I'm not
thinking about the hardship in the past.
And it was hard stuff. So shout out to my mom's 2 ex-husbands, you know, if you're watching this, die. But I think like with her, it was like, tell me everything, but you're not always going to get that back.
That's how
my dad will legit cry.
Yeah. That's how I feel with my dad. He's the onion in my
For
parents.
example, last May we put our dog down, and my dad and I were like belly crying, like in the vet's office, like like a mess. And my mom was just like,
yeah.
And I think it's because she's seen a lot of hard shit.
Yeah.
And she was very sad, but it's like,
showed
move on.
differently.
Yeah. Like my dad and I wanted to stay with our dog and like pet her and like have a moment with her. My mom was like, I want to go.
Yeah.
And so my dad and I are also much more sentimental. Like, but I guess I could lead this into when growing up, I was never sad really. And then I went to college at a college in Virginia. And now, why am I protecting them? I went to the University of Mary Washington in Virginia, in Fredericksburg, Virginia. It's like an hour from DC. And I was determined to leave home, remember?
Yes.
I wasn't ready to leave home at all, though.
No.
I missed my parents all the time. I was deeply homesick.
Yes.
And the school sucked.
Yeah.
And I had a great roommate, but, like, she didn't really miss home, so it was hard. I feel like I had to hide a lot.
Yeah. You felt alone?
Yeah. I lost probably, like, 15 to 20 pounds. I was sleeping a lot. Like, 4-hour naps in the middle of the day and still sleeping all night. I was coming home every weekend, and like genuinely that's the lowest I've ever been. And that felt so deep. Like that to me was it was situational looking back on it, but it didn't feel situational at the time. And so I was just sad all the time. Like nothing interests me. I was like just literally trying to get through the day, the week, whatever. And this is also to say college is not always what it seems like.
Yeah.
Alabama Rush sounds really fun. Like all this shit looks fun, and it can be for a lot of people, but there are a lot of people struggling with homesickness and nobody talks about it.
Yes.
My roommates, none of them were homesick. I was in a suite with 3 other girls and none of them were homesick. One of them lived like 30 minutes away from campus, so
yeah.
But none of them were homesick. They never wanted to go home. They were involving themselves, whatever. And it was awful because they felt alone all the time. None of them had boyfriends at home. Like they all had fine relationships with their parents, but like I guess I just didn't miss them. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so college sucked for me until I moved home.
Yeah.
But I was everybody in my family went away for college to big universities like University of Michigan, which is like my family's school. But then like they all went out of state or stayed in state, but like lived there, and it looked like they were having the time of their life. Should ask them. I've never asked them.
Yeah.
But I just wasn't. And I knew my grandpa paid for all of us to go to college, and I was like, he wouldn't want me to go to community college. Looking back on it now, he would not have cared. Like,
no.
But at the time, I was like, he wouldn't want me to go to like community college. Like, I have to go big. Like every one of my cousins, you know exactly what school they went to. Like, they're like, I went to Ohio State. I went to Michigan. Like, I went to Michigan State. Like, everybody, like all of my cousins, and a lot of them went on to do like masters in medical stuff and like law and like
you felt the pressure too.
Yeah, it was like big pressure. I feel like Alex, my cousin Alex, he went to like maybe the most unknown school, or maybe my cousin Katie. But like even then, you would know them in a crowd. Like if you told like people didn't. My grandpa thought I went to the University of George Washington. And I was like, no, his mom, Mary. Like, so it wasn't known, and I was like very self-conscious about that, but I didn't want to go to Maryland, and I didn't want to go to Montgomery College because everybody was going there. And there was a huge stigma at our high school around community college.
Yeah, which is so stupid.
Guess who ended up at community college? I went to community college. I got my degree in 2 years.
You thrived in community college.
So I moved home during COVID. It was perfect. I had a huge falling out with one of my roommates. I was like, bye. I had a huge falling out with my roommate.
Then COVID hit.
No, then spring break.
Oh, right.
We came back for 2 days. It was the weirdest shit ever. We were just pretending that like we weren't in a huge argument. And then COVID shut down and I never went back. And
amazing.
I think that other thing is like, I look back on COVID with such fond memories.
Me too.
And it's funny because that's not how my dad experienced it. It's not how most Americans experienced it.
Yeah.
But I wish for it back all the time.
Yeah.
It was the simple life. Get up. Sabrina and I spent a lot of COVID together.
Yeah.
And
Purposefully. We tricked our parents.
We were like, oh, that 2-week incubation period. So she has to stay here for 2 weeks.
Yep.
She basically moved in.
I did.
But then your parents moved to their house. That house with those people.
Yeah.
And then you didn't want to do that. So then
it was a whole complicated time.
Yeah.
We had to move, but also we almost went back to Brazil, but then we didn't have to. So we had to find an apartment.
Her parents got a living situation with people that I worked for.
Yeah.
And then she didn't want to live there for mental health reasons.
Yeah.
So she moved in with us. But that time, that was the time that my dad's addiction totally peaked. So
yeah.
No one else was having a fun time. But we were going on nature walks and we had a new hyperfixation every day. You had nowhere to go, nothing to do. The world was quiet.
Yeah.
Especially living in a DC metro area. Everything was empty and
I think that's the thing though. We were in a situation that took us away from something that would, bring us into a depression or, you were away from school, which was your most difficult place to be in at that moment. I was away from the living situation that my parents were in. So of course we're going to naturally feel better.
Yeah.
Whereas your dad always thrived with other people and work and he was alone and didn't have much to do.
I am firmly in belief that everything happens in your life for a reason. Everything.
Yeah.
But I do regret going to Mary Washington. I wish I never did that.
Yeah.
It was dumb. I hated it. And it's I'm not talking about meeting the people I met. I'm talking about going there. I have one friend from there. Actually, 2. Wow. I have 2 friends from there. One of them, turned out to be,
bridesmaid.
Well, they both did.
Forever
but one of them turned out to be, the mother of my goddaughter.
Oh, yeah.
So, obviously, and one of them I'm, very close friends with, see all the time, who lives very close. Well, I don't see her all the time anymore. Chrissy, we need to remedy that. But I love them. But, these girls that you spend all your time with and sleep in the same room as, you're fast friends. Because you're, sleeping next to these people. You don't know anything about them.
Yeah.
If there's one thing I could tell any college student is, be careful. Not because... I don't think anything I'm saying right now they would disagree with. We were so close so fast, and I don't regret that at all, and I don't have any ill will, but those were the girls that were the bridesmaids of my wedding, the aunts of my children. Couldn't tell you any, we were inseparable.
Yeah.
And I don't talk to them at all anymore. And one of them, it didn't end up, my actual roommate, nothing happened, we just don't talk anymore. I don't really know why. And then the my sweet mate, we had a huge falling out, and I'm just not interested in, I have no hate, but I have no interest in trying to rekindle. I'm done. It doesn't add anything to my life. It doesn't add anything to hers.
Yeah.
So, and I honestly, I don't often, I think people deserve second chances, but there was things said to me that I cannot
get past.
I can't get past because some of the things that she said to me was that's a fundamental part of who I am.
Yeah.
I'm not ever going to be different than that.
Yeah. Yeah. And also one of your biggest insecurities.
Yeah.
As well.
Shout out to people who say that I talk too much. I have a podcast now.
This is my outlet.
Yeah. So I think that was the most depressed I'd ever been.
Yeah, definitely.
And I've never been that low again. But I feel like we should have talked about this in the Girl Talk episode, but we've both talked about this. The PMS feeling is homesickness.
It is. It is. You unlocked that. You figured that out.
Yeah, I unlocked it because I love my parents. Borderline bestie girls. But I can't live with them.
Yeah.
And throughout the month, I don't need them. I go over there all the time. I live a mile from them.
Yeah.
But I just go over for a couple hours and leave, and I'm not crying when I leave. I'm bye.
You're fine.
The 2 days before my period, I want to sell all my shit and move back in.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
like,
so true.
mommy, like,
It's so true.
and that's the feeling.
Yeah.
Apparently women, I told Sabrina this, also get that feeling if you, I guess we're just going to talk about nipples.
Yes. Oh my God,
Yeah.
you're going to say it.
So I have tired nipples.
Yeah.
So when I'm falling asleep, this is so intimate.
It's okay.
When I'm falling asleep, like, my nipples make me sleepy. Like, if I'm just, like, sitting there, like, every girl rubs their nipples.
Yes. Duh.
It's not like a
Don't say you don't.
intense sexual thing. It's just
No,
like,
it's like a thing. It's
Yeah.
like it's almost like a baby thing. Like when you're a baby and you're like caressing some part
Yeah.
of your body. It means
you're just
something.
like rubbing on your body, or like, some people fall asleep with their hand in their pants.
Yeah.
I don't think it's any different.
No.
I have tired nipples. It's like a melatonin for me to just like sit like and to have like my even just rest my hand on my boobs.
I have sad nipple syndrome.
Sabrina has sad nipples, and because of that, I've heard women who, when they breastfeed, they cry because they're so homesick every time.
Yeah, I think that's going to be me if I ever.
Am I gonna get sleepy?
Maybe, who knows? Maybe it'll change for you. You never know.
Yeah, I don't have.
But it is exactly that feeling. It's like
It's like-
homesickness. You're just sad for no.
and she lives with her
Yeah,
parents,
reason.
so like,
Yeah.
where's the home? But
No, it's strange. That's the
Yeah.
thing. Like, I want to be. I live with them, and I want to not live with them. But like, sometimes I will get that feeling. I'm like, oh, I should go like talk to my dad.
I literally never miss them in that sense. I never miss living with my parents. But 3 days before my period, depression. I'm like, maybe everything's wrong, and I just like need my mom.
Yeah.
Like,
I also feel that way with friends too, though.
oh, I don't feel like that.
Like when my period hits, I'm like, hey, friend, want to hang?
No, mommy. It's not even for a person. It's a place. It's a smell. It's a
state.
state.
Yeah.
Also, like, I always remind myself when I'm PMSing, which, like, obviously PMS is not rational. But, like, girl, you're going to go back to their house and, like, you don't have a room.
True.
Like, I don't have a bed there. I do have a bed there. It was my bed. Now it's a guest bed.
Yeah.
I have nothing there.
Yeah.
But, like,
Do you want to just like, what is this feeling? You just want to stay there for a day? Or what?
This is nothing against my fiance. I yearn during that time for my room when I lived upstairs. And it was, like, the three of us, 4 with Starberry. And I was, like, in high school. Like, in that room with that bed, like,
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
Because I yearn for, or my old apartment days when I was in high school and all I had to worry about was homework.
yeah.
Just like,
and I don't,
chilling.
but I don't miss my house. I don't miss the house now. I can go back to it any time.
Yeah.
It's the time. Ugh. Now I'm down in the dumps. Like, Alex started living with us full time during COVID.
Yes.
And then we just moved in together.
Yeah.
So I haven't had my own bed for a really long time.
I also think in the next stage of your life, you'll probably feel that nostalgic feeling or that homesickness for this period. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? I think just the older you get.
But I don't want to, like, whenever Alex leaves town, like, he was in Germany for 2 weeks, last 2 years ago. No, a year ago. A little over a year ago. And I, like, I did not like being alone. I was at my
Yeah.
parents' house all the time. I was, like, leaving stuff on. I don't know. Like, I was paranoid, anxious, all that.
Yeah.
So it's not like I want to be alone again.
Yeah.
It's just a feeling.
It's just a feeling.
Ugh.
There's no reason for it. It just happens. I understand. I think a lot of people would relate to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But overall, I feel like depression, clinical depression is different. I feel like we're not talking about clinical
We're
depression.
talking about situational.
But
right?
I think that the main thing that I feel like people should take away from this whole episode is the fact that it's so cliche because I know people who are depressed. My dad, like, you're not alone does not help people.
Yeah.
But talking to somebody about it,
Hearing about it.
and you're
helps.
not always asking someone to fix it.
No.
You almost never are. But I've probably met over a dozen people in my life almost directly. One of our not friends, but someone from our high school was at the same rehab as my dad at the same time.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that. But if I had never shared and been vulnerable, there's only a stigma of when you don't talk about it.
Yes.
People go to rehab. People need help. That's help. That means you're getting better. It's
Yeah.
not like, I remember when my dad went to rehab for a month. I was so embarrassed to tell anybody. Like, he was too. He was like, he would tell people he was going on like a wellness retreat, or like, what are you going to tell your boss, you know?
Yeah.
He was retired by then, but like, you know, what would you tell people who see you in a certain way that's not who I always saw addiction, depression, all these things as like the person and then the issue.
The issue, yeah.
The issue is not the person.
No.
It's like person first language in education. You don't say autistic Sabrina. You would say Sabrina who has autism.
Yeah.
Person first language. Like, he's not Paul the addict. He's not Paul the addict. He's like, I am Paul and I have an addiction. That's very different. But like, the more you don't talk about it, that shows shame, and it does show that you are, like, it is something to be afraid of.
Yes.
But a lot of people have addictive qualities, tendencies. And it's not, a lot of people have depression, anxiety, all those things. And it's not anything to, like, not share with somebody.
Yeah.
But obviously in a safe environment.
In a safe environment. Knowing, I mean, people know, you know when you feel good when you open up with someone and you know, like, you can trust them and you feel seen or heard by that person. And, like, I've experienced that a lot. Just, like, hearing, like, the situation with your dad, hearing from him himself, from you, from, like, my dad when he finally opened up about his dad. Like, that's how, it's those moments that you realize, like.
I feel like you, though, were so intimately involved in my family's life from 2011 to now.
Yeah.
Like, or 2012, whenever we became friends.
2012, 2011.
No,
that's
2012.
Our email.
I know. Is it 2011, though?
2011.
Fall of 2011.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, because we met 7th grade.
Our email is wrong.
But she saw, like, the ups and downs of my family.
Yeah.
Like, people see it. And people would email my mom sometimes after they had dinner at our house and, like, ask if he was okay. Like, it wasn't, like, hidden. But, like, you think it is. Like, because no one's going to talk about it.
Yeah.
But it's hard for you to not
yeah,
have... Like, if you have a friend who's, like, that close. And honestly, like, when he admitted it, it probably just made more sense.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just overall helpful for... I don't know how he feels. I'd have to have a conversation about this with him to know. So I can't speak for him. But for me, it really solidifies a little more of my connection with him, my relationship with him. Like, I feel closer to him. I would hope he feels closer to me. And, like, that is the point of being open about some of these things.
Part of Alcoholics Anonymous, AA, which is a perfect, like, for those of you who don't know, there's, like, a support group, essentially, for alcoholics. But also, there is Narcotics Anonymous. But everyone who has substance abuse goes to AA, regardless of the substance, mostly, because it's more established. And it's, like, literally community meetings that you go to. And it's called the 12-step program because there's 12 steps. And one of the last steps is actually making amends, like, saying sorry. But after everything happened with my dad, that was, like, the height of it, he did apologize to everybody.
Yeah.
But I was the last one he apologized to. So, but he told Sabrina and Alex, he was like, I don't want to talk to her about it yet because I know she's not ready and I'm not ready to hear what she has to say. So he actually apologized to them first and then me. And I really got upset about that first.
Yeah.
Because I was like, why is he talking to these people who are not his child about...
Because it's easier.
It's easier. Yeah. So I feel like... And I was mad. And I didn't trust... Like, addiction is not... Like, it's addiction. No, and it's also not... It affects so many other emotions. It's trust, respect, love... all this stuff. And it's, like, very confusing emotionally. And, like, you don't get through that alone. But if you just say, hey, my blah, 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 this happened to him, you'd be surprised how many people experience the same thing. And ironically enough, not ironic, but just, like, nice, multiple people in our lives that are extremely close to my family also had addiction problems. Like, close friends of my family. And so it's just, like, now he's with them. And it's not... I remember hearing about all these people had addiction in my life, and I was like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
Are you for real?
Yeah.
That's so crazy. It's just more common, and the more you talk about it.
It's lighter. It becomes lighter the more you talk about it, I think.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's not to say that it solves everything, but, like, it helps, you know? You don't feel... some people don't feel so alone. Other people just have another outlet, something to think on. Like in the future, if you open up with this one person and it felt good in the moment, you'll think back on it.
Yeah.
You'll give them a call if you need, if
Yeah.
you want, you know? So just talk to people.
Talk to people and
A professional.
Close if you can afford it.
Yeah.
Most people can. But also, this is so weird. But in the van life community on YouTube, there was this girl who committed suicide. And it basically like started this whole wave of people who were just like, take care of each other. And it's like so cliche, but so true. Just like take care of each other.
Yeah. Oh my God. This just reminded me of that thing that I realized the other day. That humans are social beings. I just like realized
that's like
how
so
true,
insightful.
I just realized how true and real it is. Like we depend on each other. We are herd people. Like we need people around us, even though we can be as independent as we want and like live alone and whatnot. But like at the end of the day,
I am
you
not
need
the one though.
connections.
You need to know who to go to.
Yeah,
I am not the friend who's crying over your ex with you.
absolutely not.
I'm like, build a bridge and get over it. That was 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Is this your one woman show? Because I ain't got
But you
a
know
ticket.
what? Sometimes you need that friend.
Yeah.
Like I go to my
Chrissy-
brother when I need to be mushy, and I go to her when I need to be told
Yeah.
something real.
But I'm also doing it because I'm like, you are that bitch.
yeah.
Why are you acting like this?
Yeah. True.
Like, the day she broke up with her ex, I was like, all right, time for a Lizzo party.
Hell
like, we're
yeah.
done. But, like, with Chrissy, when she broke up with her boyfriend in college, she was, like, late to dinner because she was, like, talking to her ex. And I was like, I'm hungry. Let's go, bro.
Let's go.
And sometimes you need that friend who's just like, we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to think about it. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting because people know that about me and still come to me with that shit.
Because they want it. Subconsciously, they know that what they're going to get, and they want that.
I feel like Brian does not, though.
We can ask him.
We can ask him. But I have friends who I feel like continue to come to me, and I'm like, you know you're not going to get what you want from me.
I feel like people come to me with the opposite when they want the opposite. Like they
oh,
want
it's okay.
support, or like they want like to be listened to. I'm like, yeah,
I
you're right.
can be supportive, though.
You can, but it'll come in it'll come on its own.
Yeah.
Definitely. Like there will be moments where I'm fine, and you're like, hey, like, how are you feeling truly? And I'm like, I'm not okay.
My dad has a crazy ability to...
He's so good at it.
Crazy ability to, like, lean into you and be like, you're not okay.
Yeah.
And then you're like...
Yeah, you're right.
And then you just, like, he can also tell a minor switch in personality. Like, if you're sitting at the table and you're just, like, a little bit quieter at dinner, he's gonna pull you aside later and ask you.
Yeah.
And I feel like I got that, too.
Yeah.
Because almost nobody's hiding from me. Personality, items, nothing. I am a detective.
Truly.
Private, Sarah.
Hate it.
Personal investigator, Sarah.
You can't keep a secret from her, guys. It's impossible. And I'm not talking about big secrets. I'm talking about, like, a surprise birthday party, surprise.
Nothing. But, I mean, like, even, like, I can tell if you cut your hair half an inch.
Yeah, it's true.
And anybody.
We didn't really... Did we talk about anxiety? A little.
Yeah.
We could do
Anxiety-
a whole other parter.
Anxiety, I feel like... What is there to be said?
I do have something to say. I feel like I've never really experienced anxiety that badly. I have. Like, in school, I'd, like, be very nervous and worried about outcomes of, like, school stuff. But, like, testing was terrible for me every time and presenting. But lately, stuff that I was not anxious about, like the metro, for example. I am deathly afraid of the metro. Granted, it is kind of spooky and creepy at night and, like, alone.
Being a woman.
But, like, before, I was still anxious, but more okay with it. Like, but now it's a little debilitating.
As you get older, ignorance is bliss.
Yes.
Like, as you get older and the more things you know, the more anxious you're going to be.
Yeah.
But I heard an antidote. It's antidote. That really helps with anxiety. Anxiety is like an unwanted house guest. Mm-hmm. That's going to come into your house, jump on their furniture with the muddy shoes, eat all your food, swipe shit off your counter,
Oh my God.
and fuck shit up.
So real.
Are you gonna open the door and, like, let them in? Or are you gonna shut the door and say, like, not right now?
Yeah.
Anxiety is fleeting.
Yeah.
You become a new thing to be anxious about all the time. Mm-hmm. So I always say, like, tomorrow's problem. And then
Yeah.
I don't even remember tomorrow.
Yeah. That's true.
That is not, again, clinical anxiety. Like, that's just anxious behavior.
Yeah.
But someone gets raped on the metro.
And you see that.
Or you're like, I'm never going to go on the metro again.
Yeah, you read an article about it. It's over. I don't want to go on the metro.
And that was in
anymore.
broad daylight.
Yeah.
And that happens all the time. And, like, yeah. It's not... you're anxious because the world's scary.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I think that's just normal.
Yeah, and I feel like, you know, as a kid, you don't go anywhere alone. But, like, now I drive to the grocery store. I go to the gas station alone.
Yeah.
There's so many more opportunities.
Yeah.
To get killed.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's, like, unnatural. I think you do get more anxiety as you get older.
Definitely. Yeah. I have noticed that big time.
Yeah. So that's that. That's my life. I hope you enjoyed it, because I know I did. But yeah, we always sandwich hard episodes with good ones.
Yes.
So this is your big sister advice to talk to somebody.
Yeah. Anybody, people you trust, people you want, you know them, you know who they are. And if you don't, you'll learn.
Yeah. I'm like always a person who trusts everybody, and I've learned.
Yeah.
I don't think it's changed who I am, but I am more selective.
Yes, definitely. I feel like I am very open if I'm given the opportunity to be, but I'm not just outwardly like...
I'll give anyone my social security number.
Yes. Yes, you will.
Not actually, but...
Saying it out loud at a hot pot.
Oh my God.
That was crazy.
No one's writing it down.
Fair.
And someone asked. Did you ask me?
I asked. I was like, friend, would you give me your social security number? And you just started blurting it out. I was like, wow, that's friendship.
Yeah, that's love. What are you gonna do with it? Nothing.
That's true.
Steal my identity?
I know
if I had your identity,
else.
I'd kill myself. That's a joke.
I know everything else about your identity. Oh my God, do you want to tell them about...
No, but there's been many times we've forged each other's lives.
Yeah, we're fine.
I was filling out a form and I needed Sabrina to sign something, but she wasn't at my house. So I know her address, I know her number, I know all her names. She doesn't have a social security number. Yeah. So bada bing, bada boom, and I know what her signature looks like.
Yeah.
But I told her I was doing it. Slay.
Those are your true friends.
Yeah. I can't do that for anybody else. Alex.
Yeah, family, I feel like. That's
it. But I don't know anybody's social security number. Actually, weirdly enough, I know my mom's last 4 digits of her social security number.
Wait, that's crazy. Why?
Because my dad always is saying it to... it's like a passcode to an account.
Oh,
and I always grew up learning it, like knowing it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, you don't know it, and you don't know what account I'm talking about.
I don't know. Somebody could get it.
Sabrina almost got scammed the other day.
Oh my God, I did. That was so stupid. So, somebody DM'd me on Instagram, my art Instagram, saying that they wanted a commission. It's been a while since I had a commission, so I was all excited. And they said something about like, it was like word for word, I later found out, a scam. Like they were like, oh, my daughter, her name is Susie, and she wants like a commission. And then this person like wanted immediately to pay me. And I was like, girl, like, don't you like want some sketches or something first? And she was like, okay, what's your...
Did they even give you like what they wanted done?
Yeah, they told me. But it was like very quick. And I was like, okay, I'll get back to you. But they immediately were like, well, this is the paying arrangement I can do right now. And I was like, I have to talk to her dad about sending you a virtual check and whatnot. And so they asked me for my name, which I gave them. They asked me for
the name of your bank.
The name of my bank. Yeah.
And then you realized it was a scam.
And then I was like, what the hell? You don't need my bank.
Here's your PSA. If someone's writing you a check, they just need your name. That's it.
That's true. Yeah. And I knew that. So when they asked that, I was like, what the heck? But I still gave it because I was like, what in the world? And then they never replied. Looked it up on Reddit, word for word. Susie is a scam. And so.
Susie is a scam.
It was also like some dumb stuff about like, can you do a commission?
It's always a Susie, huh?
Always a Susie. It was like, can you do a commission on my daughter Susie with her favorite character from Paw Patrol or Spider-Man? And that's exactly what she said. I was like,
be better with your scams, people.
Yeah, guys,
get a better scam.
Like, do better. That's
a bad scam.
It's lazy.
That's lazy scamming.
That's lazy scamming. Although I know that they would get like some old people, like, people that are not as internet savvy.
My dad is very smart, and you can't scam him that easily. Mm-hmm. But if you know him even a little bit, he's like, "Oh, you need money?" I'm like, "Do you even know that person, or is that a friend of a friend? Please tell me." What a guy. I'm not like that.
No.
That's funny. Well, I am. I'm not gullible though.
You're definitely not gullible. You'll ask a million questions.
Right, but you, I feel like, are more gullible.
I am very well. Yeah, I'm very gullible. I am more so. Honestly, I think it's.
I love how this turned into this one. This has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Whatever.
This is content.
Y'all said you wanted longer episodes. Here it is.
So this was your mental health check-in.
Yeah.
Your PSA to not get scammed. Go call someone. Tell them you love them.
Yeah.
And until next time, bye, friend.
Bye, friend.
Does my sideburn look like normal?